Hello and welcome to another episode of Champions of Inspiration. I'm your host, Scott Schilling. Mark Papadas is an award-winning speaker, author, and the visionary behind I Am for Kids, the groundbreaking program revolutionizing elementary education and youth entertainment. You got to love that. With over 2 decades in the self development field, Mark has collaborated with legends like Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, Anthony Robbins, bringing powerful tools of self empowerment directly to children. Mark's passion for personal growth began back in high school, shaped by a challenging upbringing. These experiences allowed him to connect deeply with the struggles many children face today. His innovative programs, such as I Am the Power of Your True Identity, I Am for Kids, and Power to the Pupils, I love that one, has transformed lives, empowering kids to discover their true potential. Join Mark on this empowering journey to help children create their own empowering identities and lead successful, fulfilling lives. Mark, thanks for joining us here on Champions of Inspiration.
Thank you for having me. I hope I can live up to the title of the show.
Well, it's really exciting that you've got a program for kids because, quite frankly, uh, we've got to help our children today. I think the educational system has changed dramatically over the last number of years, and so we've got to get kids early and do everything we can. So, what I found interesting about your bio is that all of this became of interest to you, exciting to you because of a challenging background that you started with. Share a little bit about that if you would.
Thank you. So it's when I was growing up, I'm the youngest of three boys. My two older brothers are 6 and 7 years older than me. So the joke is that I was the planned one, even though I was supposed to be a girl. But okay. Um, but for the most part, I like to say I pretty much grew up alone. And what I mean by that is that if you had to say what socioeconomic stratus we were, I would say we were upper lower class. And what I mean by that is both my parents had to work; they were laborers, etc. Um, my brothers, I said they hung out with kids their own age. They weren't going to be hanging out with their little brother kind of thing. But one of my brothers, he used to like to make his points with his fists. And there was one episode in particular that still sticks with me to this day. Is that my father's brother was just coming home from Vietnam, so we're talking early '70s, and I had never met him before. And about a week prior, my brother beat me up so bad that I had bruises all over. And when I was introduced to my uncle, he actually asked my parents whether I was born with birth defects because it
Wow.
was so, and they say the answer was no. But so it wasn't basically until I got old enough to where I could fight back where that stopped kind of thing. Um, but the flip side of that, and kind of one of the things that I teach in I Am for Kids is there's something that can be taken from every instance. And basically what I took for that is that I think a lot of that helped me to become a tougher person. In other words, to be able to withstand and come back from things that happened to me.
Yeah, well, it's certainly unfortunate that you had to live through that, but I totally respect the fact that you took it as lessons and then used it as a springboard for from that point forward. So, how did that then change throughout your youth as you grew to this idea today?
Well, in terms of like I said, I was always by myself, so I had to find ways to teach myself, and then also to entertain myself. So oddly enough, for example, when I was in grade school, so my parents weren't home to help me with my homework and stuff like that, and my brothers were doing whatever they were doing. So I would do all my homework. I would watch TV. The first love of my life was baseball. So when I didn't have
Nice.
something to do, I had my glove and a rubber ball, and I could always find a wall somewhere. and I was just throwing the ball, just pretending, practicing, etc. So I think one of the things that it helped me with is being able to not be reliant upon other people to either A, tell me what to do, or B, to necessarily show me how to do it. I had to figure it all out on my own. And I think that's one of the things that really helped me to grow as a student when I was in school, because for the most part, I had to figure it out on my own other than what was being taught in school.
So awesome. Boy, I remember lots of games of strikeout against a wall. You took chalk and built the
Yep.
strike zone, and anyway, I could reminisce on that. I could reminisce on that all day. Okay, so I Am for Kids. What's the foundation of this, and what are you looking to accomplish?
So the foundation for it is actually quite simple. Is that every one of us, whether we realize it or not, has an I am statement. In other words, it's how you live your life. It's how you expect other people to treat you, how you tell yourself you're going to treat other people, etc. The only problem with that is that most people, kids or adults, have never given that any conscious thought.
Yeah.
So if you haven't done that, then what becomes that I am statement is whatever the loudest voices are in your orbit, that's what becomes in there. And usually that's not a positive outcome. So what I did was I've been teaching this stuff. So before I created I Am for Kids, I was working with so-called grown-ups for over a decade as a corporate sales trainer and a personal development coach. And then I literally had an epiphany in November of 2009 of, hey, dummy, why don't you take what you know, put it into a format where it'll actually have the biggest and longest lasting impact, which is when people are kids. Because when you're adult, you literally often have to literally break that person down to rebuild them back up with that empowering identity. You don't have to do that with kids. You're starting off with a solid foundation already built. So that's where I Am for Kids came from. And I created it's a 5-step identity building process. And again, it's the same 5 steps, just how you teach it is differently, whether you're talking about kids or adults.
Sure.
And the I Am for Kids school program, which was our first product, is designed to sit on top of the curriculum taught in 2nd through 5th grade. And it's all about teaching them to how to make up that own empowering I am ... statement. And then how to literally use the neuroplasticity, the mind-body connection, that it's called by the lay people, to literally embed that into the child. And there's a quote that I have is that the children are like wet cement. Is generally what lands upon them tends to stick and leave an impression. So my whole concept is I want to get that cement hardened to concrete, so that all those voices just bounce off and they can basically become hardened to any of that outside noise to bring them down.
Yeah, I think that's really important, and it's interesting. I was having a conversation with a friend over the weekend, and we were talking about the value of playing sports growing up, and we had a lot of really good coaches. We're very fortunate to have coaches at a very young age. In fact, one of our football teams was undefeated, unscored upon. Crazy to think about that. I mean, but we were taught, the value of self-worth. We were taught the value of all those things. And I think, in certain pockets, there are still a whole lot of youth athletics, but I think they've almost gotten so serious in many cases, some of the club stuff, that it's gone too far. Would you agree with that?
I would say it's definitely different. That's probably the best way to put it. And everything has become, especially on the athletics side, so much more specialized. It's like, no, you can't do football and baseball or basketball or hockey, and to me, that was part of the fun, is whatever was either in season or whatever the weather allowed you to do inside or outside. And it just, as an athlete, it made you, in my opinion, a better athlete because you learn skills, you're using your body in different ways. And I also think that's a big reason, as like I said, somebody whose first love was baseball. I think that's a big reason why there's so many more arm injuries now. It's because there's not everything. The muscular system has become so specialized for that one repetitive motion
Yeah.
that as soon as you do something just ever so slightly different, that's when you tweak it.
That's interesting that you say that. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I played 5 sports, so there was very few times throughout the year that something wasn't going on for sure. So I get that. So how do we get these or what's the foundation of I am for kids? You started with the I am statements, so let's dig into that a little bit.
So the foundation, the first piece is the identity building piece, because any psychologist will tell you is that it is next to impossible for any human being to act in a way that is contrary to their core belief about themselves
Mhm.
for any period of time. You can kind of fake it till you make it kind of thing, but if you never truly believe it, you always come back to that homeostasis, if you will, right? So that's what we start with, because until you have the identity, any of the other things that we can teach, etc., they don't have that foundation to build upon. So, like I said, we started with the I Am for Kids school program, which we still have, and we're in the process of redoing, basically bringing it up to the animation standards, etc., of 2024 as opposed to 2014, and they've changed quite a lot.
For sure.
Yeah, and then we can take it on from there in terms of teaching other soft skills, teaching communication, etc. And it's really designed for the entire family. The concept is that we get to the kids, so we'll have the biggest and longest lasting impact. But we have content. So, for example, my book, the 10 Secrets to Empower Kids and Awaken the Child in You, is actually written for the educators and the parents. Because when the kids come to them and start talking about what they're going through in school and going through the program and how much better it's making them feel, the parents need to know what they're learning, but also to be ready to answer. It's like mommy, and they share the identity they created for themselves. Like,
Right.
so what's yours? Right. If you don't have an answer, then pardon my language, but they know you're full of crap, kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
So
well,
you want me to do this, but not you.
exactly. I mean, I think that that's great. You take a holistic approach to it, to get the entire family involved. I mean, I know that I had a very supportive mother and father around the athletics and around the things that I did. And I think that that's one of the things that over the years has changed. I mean, people have gotten so busy, they're busy being busy and they're pulled away from it. And unfortunately, they don't have the opportunity to see what their kids are doing and learning. So starting with the kids is great, but I love the approach of gaining the support of the families as well. I think that's really cool.
Oh, well, thank you. Really that's the not the core, but what I'm looking for, the purpose behind everything that we do. So,
Got it.
for example, the TV show, we're actually developing our first TV show. The working title is Power to the Pupils. And it's real stories of real kids who've gone through the school program and the impact that they're making in whether it be their families, their communities, and sometimes beyond. So the one of the things that makes, for example, if you think about kids' movies, Disney is what immediately comes to mind, right? If you go through all the old classics. And when there's a reason why kids love to watch the same movie over and over and over and over and over again, it's because that's one of the ways that they develop their certainty, right? That they know what's going to happen. So you want to see, a kid freak out, show the kid a movie, a version of Finding Nemo, where that scuba diver doesn't come up and take Nemo in the little plastic bag and Nemo goes away and the story goes in a completely different direction. That kid's going to just be like,
Yeah.
right. So, but the thing that makes the Disney story so great is that there's multiple levels that even as an adult, you can watch it and get something from it and be entertained by it, that the kids have no clue what's going on. And you're not really engaged by what the kids are getting, but there's a whole story level, a whole thing that's going on up here as well. So that's really the crux of what we're doing with the TV show as well.
I just think it's awesome to address kids at that inflection point, right, where they're starting to learn. And I just think we, as society, we need to take that down younger and younger, because they're becoming more grown up way too soon, seemingly.
Yep.
And we have to help them. So how does some of the other curriculum work as you're putting this into place for kids?
Well, probably the biggest impact is actually going to be from what's called our I Am for Kids Academy. So like I said, the I Am for Kids, what we call the family pack on our website, is designed to get that foundation built, right? The next step up from there is the I Am for Kids Roundtable. And anybody who's into personal development, familiar with Napoleon Hill, what the Roundtable is, for lack of a better term, it's a mastermind group of families who want the same things for their kids, and we share together. So I bring not only the knowledge and the content that we have, but bring in subject matter experts to talk about that. But we also don't claim to know everything. So whereas parents, that we can start to say, oh, well, this is working for me, et cetera. So that's the roundtable. What is going to be the biggest piece for us down the road is the I Am for Kids Academy. So the I Am for Kids Academy is all of the things that we as adults say, why didn't they teach us this in school?
Mm-hmm.
So it's all those different. It's going to start off as really as not, I don't want to say it's not an after school program. It's more than that. And it actually won't be done in the schools. It's actually going to be done at home. It's the great thing about the web is you can do it anytime, any place. But it's teaching all the different soft skills. One of the things, for example, that we're going to be starting off with is speed reading and memory training.
Nice.
Right? I'm amazed at how many school districts just are against both of those things. And I just don't understand why. Right? Why wouldn't you want a kid to be able to read faster and comprehend more?
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. A friend of mine is the Guinness World Record holder in speed reading.
Okay.
And I'm always amazed every time I talk to him because of the knowledge that brings, the fact that he can take in information so quickly and then retain that information and have it available to him when he needs it. I think it's
Exactly.
absolutely fascinating. So, and I agree with you also with the delivery of the web now kind of opens your opportunities to impart this wisdom to the children.
Yeah, absolutely. And then where we see the once again the worldwide impact, in addition to the website of it, is that sometime before 2030, where I Am for Kids academies will basically become franchises to where people can actually open up an I Am for Kids academy in their area. And we see ourselves becoming that next type of like the Goddard schools, the Sylvan Learning Centers, et cetera, that take school and make it so much more than what it is now, because there's very few people in this country who are happy with the state of the educational system, at least the public education system.
Yeah, well, I think that's fairly evident with the
Yeah.
number of charter schools and everything that are coming online that um, we want to create amazing foundation for our kids. Um, I'm blessed to have grown-up kids who learned a ton, but they also played multiple sports.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I think it's that whole experience that comes with it. So I love what you're doing with this. So share a little bit more about where you're going or where you are today, and then where you're going with all this.
So where we are today is, I guess you could say we're going through a metamorphosis. So where everything originated was a nonprofit to get that school program into schools. And we've done that successfully. One of the things we learned from the business standpoint was some of the things that we were doing wrong. And the main thing, for example, was that we were using the program itself was the driver of the train, if you will, and mainly me, because this is my legacy, right? I was back pushing the train, and you can only put one person can only push a train so far, so fast, kind of thing. And we realized that to really make the impact that we want to make across the world, that it's got to be bigger, and somebody's got to be up front pulling it as opposed to pushing it from the back.
Right.
So what we've done is we have closed down the non-for-profit organization, and we are launching the I Am for Kids brand. So it's same content, same characters, etc. I think probably the best analogy is the Muppets. It started off as a children's television workshop, right? That's a nonprofit organization, but the Muppet Show, movies, Tickle Me Elmo, all that kind of stuff, that is a for-profit entity that just took that message and just blew it up, right? So that's what we're doing. We're borrowing that business model. So where we are now is, I said, we're developing the first TV show. We're getting our programs. We're going to be launching online in January of 2025. So coming up in a little over 2 months. We're, like I said, I guess you could say the cocoon is opening, and that butterfly is going to be coming out in the first quarter of next year.
I think that's exciting. I mean, I love when there's a couple things. Stick-to-itiveness. You know, you say it was a good idea then, it's still a good idea, and we're going to make this thing happen. And I also understand the change in the business environment, in the landscape, you know, and taking it and doing it, and not reinventing the wheel, but paralleling the wheel that
Mhm.
works. I love that idea. How can people come and, you know, become part of this I Am for Kids movement?
Well, there's two ways. So if you just want to find out more about what I Am for Kids is all about, you can go to I Am for Kids, just like it says on my shirt and over my shoulder. So iamforkids.com. And we talk about all of our online programs. You can message me from there, etc. The ask that I will have is when we were talking about the TV show. So we're developing the pilot right now. We've got our pitch deck ready to take to the networks and the streaming services. Now we're just putting together the animation so that we can show them what the show is going to be all about. What we want to do is to show that we're bringing an audience with us, that literally all they have to do is give the green light to the project, and then we're going to be ready to go. So to do that, what we've done is we've started a GoFundMe. A lot of times when you say a GoFundMe, people come like and they roll their eyes, but let me explain. We're trying to get as many $1 donations as we get. Okay, you want to give more, that's fine. But we're only asking for $1. Because if we can get 10,000, 20,000, 40,000, however many $1 donations, now we can go to the streaming services and say, look, we've got 40,000 people who've already said that they want to pay for this type of content. This educational, this empowering, this entertaining content for kids. All you have to do is say yes. So if somebody wants to do that, they can go to iamforkids.tv. So again, I am the number 4kids.tv. That'll take them directly to our GoFundMe page. There's a little about 3-minute video there talking about what the show is going to be all about, who the characters are, etc. If you think we're worth it, give us $1 and tell your friends. If not, that's cool too. Is that fair?
No, I think it's a really cool idea. I think, you know, I first learned of crowdfunding, well, when it first hit the streets back, 2014 or thereabouts. And there's so many different uses for it, but I love the idea. You've got a little different approach to this, and I think it's a very realistic and clean approach because of the desire to ultimately want to serve more kids. I mean, I think that's a great thing. So beyond the GoFundMe, how can people support you? All of a sudden, somebody hears this that says, Mark, what do you really need?
Well, we're in the process of closing our first round of venture capital. So I don't want to say so much. Every business always needs money, but I'm saying that's not our primary thing. Really, the biggest thing right now we need is exposure. So if you look up either I Am for Kids or my name, MARK well, just like it is on the screen, Papadas on Facebook, on Instagram, etc. We're really trying to build up our social media platforms, because the social media platforms are also going to be a big part of the TV show, because they're going to decide, the social media platforms are going to decide what stories of the kids who've gone through the program are going to be the next ones chosen to be the next episode on the TV show. And then a really cool thing about that is that, with the parents' permission, of course, is that child can then become another I Am for Kids character. So
Oh, that's cool. I
yeah.
love
So
that
always,
idea.
yeah. So yeah, to talk about having a legacy, right?
No,
And
that's a cool idea. It's one of the reasons, quite frankly, for doing this show, is to expose great ideas. And this, you've got carte blanche to use this show however it serves you the best. And that's what we want to do. We want to serve good um, projects, and get them as far as wide as we possibly can, to do as much good as we can. We None of us can do it on our own.
right.
And in this day and age of social media and podcasts and opportunities, we don't have to.
Right.
So again, hopefully I'm going to encourage you, the audience, to share this as far and wide as well, from that side. I think this is a really cool project because, as you and I talked when we first met, I learned the I am affirmation uh, process many years ago, and it's been absolutely amazing at what it's accomplished for so many. Why don't we touch on that in the few minutes we have left?
Sure. Like I said, to me, it's the core of who you are. And if you don't have a core of who you are, then I guess to sound redundant, who are you, right? It's uh, akin to the old saying, is that if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for everything.
Right.
So you have to decide for yourself, who you are, what type of person you're going to be, how am I going to respond when these types of things happen. And once you do that and you literally ingrain it, it's amazing how comfortable you are in your own skin, how content you are with who you're being and your life, even if things aren't necessarily going the way you're not at your destination, right?
Right.
But you're on your way there, and there's nothing that's going to stop you from getting there.
Yep. No, there's no doubt about it. I mean, it makes me, every time I talk with you, it makes me think of the equation E plus R equals O. It's not the events in our life that determine the outcome of our life. It's the events plus our response to those events that determine that outcome. And for a child, unless they get some guidance on how to respond, there's some pretty goofy events happening these days.
Yeah.
And it would sure be better to have kids educated on better quality responses, right?
Mhm.
I am strong and powerful no matter what happens to me, as opposed to I accept whatever happens to me. One's a whole lot more, a
Yeah,
lot stronger statement, right?
yeah. And the thing is that most people don't recognize that those responses are patterned responses. It's
Right.
literally just, the button gets pushed, that response happens. It's Pavlovian, basically. And the one thing that people need to understand, and this is one that I start more with the adults and then bring that down to the kids, is that when something happens, your brain in a microsecond asks itself three questions. And one is, first off, what just happened? Then once it figures that one out, then it says, okay, well, what does that mean? And then the third question is, what do I do about it? So if you know that every time X happens that you do Y, and you're not happy with the result that Y gets you, you have to change the Y. Right? So
Yeah.
change that process, change. You understand? Okay, this is, figure out those questions, figure out those answers, and then again, everything else just goes. That you get that new pattern. You're more empowered. You're taking another step in a positive direction.
Oh, I love that. Great way to wrap this up. Once again, give everybody the best way to get a hold of you.
So you can just go to iam4kids.com, and I always pretty much end every conversation with, and always remember to be great.
That's awesome. Thanks, Mark. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us on Champions of Inspiration. We'll see you again next week. Thanks for being here. God bless. Have a fabulous week.